Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Gab. My name is Lydia Nyagaya. Welcome to The Gab. My question is, can a parent pass down a learning disability to an offspring? Who wants to answer this first?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. When you look at when you're looking at the causes, so I mentioned earlier about the causes or the origin or what you call etiology of learning disabilities. Yes, the scientists have not put their finger down on exactly what causes, but yes, it can be passed on from a parent to a child. Yes.
So our fathers were right when they say
no, but not necessarily the mother or the dad. But I would say
it might come from one of the parents.
Okay, I can say I think I have some level of dyslexia.
Oh,
Which I didn't know then, but now looking how I struggle sometimes with spelling. Looking at how sometimes I can't wait for people to finish what they're saying. I just want to
jumping into the conversation.
So then you say, okay, yes, it is hereditary. And then even I think sometimes even when you get to assess the students, when the parents bring it, when you realize you even notice something on the parent. So it's something that is.
And this is the same dad will come and complain and bang tables how you are unfair with the child.
You used to be number one and
in
all
school.
That.
All parents used to be number one.
Yes. But it has nothing to do with the intellectual. Because these kids are very, very bright. They can amaze you. Or they always amaze us.
I want to just add on what you have said. Children with, especially the specific learning disorders, they are not necessarily of below average IQ. Some of them are actually brilliant. They are very brilliant. So they and earlier on you mentioned something like it is the hidden disability. So they're just regular people. Some they're just average intelligence. Some of them are even more brilliant than others.
Can they perform in a regular school? Is it a must for them to be taken to a special school to perform, or can they just perform in a regular school but under special support? When they're given special support by special teachers, like let's say you, Millicent, can these children flourish in a regular school where there is no this a learning disorder thing?
Lydia, in ideal world, that's very possible. That's what should be happening. Every school should have a learning support, but that's not what is happening. You even find the schools which already have a learning support, they sometimes don't give the full support that they're supposed to give. And that's talking from my own frustrations as a parent. But these children, like you find the one when they are ignored for long, the gaps keeps on widening. And then in the regular schools, you also find that teachers are not well equipped. They don't even understand this themselves. It's nowadays when teachers are beginning to understand. You try that in the rural areas, public schools.
It is impossible.
My sister, who is a public primary school teacher, is still struggling with getting other teachers to understand. She's being sent to special to me a teacher and there's nothing that you look at the child, you see that maybe this one was just a delayed milestone, or this one is just a gap which was there due to the environment because of where they were. So there's so many things that are affecting this kid that in ideal world the school should be able to help. You find some that you can start withdrawing them from lessons, and then after a while they can be in full mainstream and learning like everybody else with just a little help. But when it's left for long, then there's a struggle. There's going to be a problem.
Okay. Now, Priscilla, we have spoken about the signs of ADHD, but we did not touch the signs of other learning disabilities. Something like dyslexia. You've told me about dysgraphia. You have to look at the spelling, the handwriting. With dyslexia, it's like the writing and processing. Now, is there something called slow processing? Because I've heard of children having a special learning condition called slow processing. And when they talk about slow processing, they're talking about a child who look at you, you're talking, they're looking at you, they are not getting what you're saying, it's not sinking immediately. What do you call that?
I think I mentioned that we have 5 specific learning disorders. So there are 2 others that I did not talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have one called oral written language disorder. And these people have specific reading comprehension deficit. So they have a problem understanding what they're reading. They also have a problem expressing themselves orally. Or they're not able to express themselves orally. Yes, in any spoken language. Then there's another one called non-verbal learning disorder. So I think what you're describing, this may fit there.
Non-verbal
learning disorder.
Learning disorder.
Yeah, this is where there is a discrepancy between the verbal skills that this person has and what they're seeing. Okay. So like what they're hearing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a disconnect.
A disconnect. That's what brings now the slow processing, because nothing is registering in their brains.
Yeah. So it doesn't register. For example, they can't interpret non-verbal language, facial expressions. Yes. So you're talking to them, they take so long to process what you're trying to say, and they're not responding even the way you want them.
And now your face is all mad. It's written mad, angry, I'm going to beat you, and they are smiling.
Yes.
Now that is when you hand a good slap on a child's chin.
And what does that do?
Now this one brings us to that question, Millicent. As a teacher and as a parent, now let's deal with you now as a parent with a child who is dyslexic. How do you handle a kid who is dyslexic or who has a learning disability to make sure that this child's condition does not get worse? How do you handle a child like that? Because I remember, let me tell you where I grew up. My parents were old-fashioned. This thing, learning disorder, we are getting to learn about this thing now. In fact, if I may be honest, Millicent is the first person to mention to me that there's something called learning disorder. To me, I said it is a child not concentrating in class. It is a child not reading her books, and this one just requires some little beating, just little beating to wake them up. Now, I realize that if you do that, because Millicent used to tell me that if you try to be those children, they might become worse. So, Millicent, how do you handle a child to make sure that to just ensure that this child the condition does not become worse?
What we always campaign for is early intervention. Early intervention. So the moment, like she was saying, there are criteria. Even us, before we call them, we try to observe. We see that there are some which the teacher can try to correct in the class. Because there are different levels. There is mild, there is profound. So the mild ones can be manageable a little within the classroom. And then there are some that can be supported in the learning support for some time. And then there are those, when it reaches a time now, we need their recommendation. We need them to come and assess and tell us the guidelines. This specific child will need this kind of support. Because they are all different. Like my daughter has phonological dyslexia, she has dyscalculia. So
everything in...
Yeah, because it affects the other.
Oh yeah.
And she's still, actually, she's very strong in her thing. That she even make jokes about it herself.
Oh, she has gotten comfortable and has accepted her condition.
Like she says, she meets some, I'm dyslexic. Like it's just something so...
And right now,
yeah, which is okay. I love that about it. And now when it comes to maths, she was talking about still counting with the fingers. She still does that. She's 17.
Yes.
And she takes bus going to school, and she comes. I have to be specific with the fare. That this one you have to use it this way and that way, and then she's figured it out now. She comes and tells me, I've saved this much from the money you gave me. So then I go asking her,
How did you know?
Did you finally manage how to tell me? No, I noticed the pattern.
Oh,
so that's what she told. I noticed the pattern. So
if going to sorry for jumping in, if going to the CBD from this place is, let's say, 70 shillings, if you give her 100 shillings, at the age of 17, she doesn't know that she will be given back 30 shillings.
She'll give it all
and not expect.
The connector figure it out.
This is serious.
So she would say that, when they would ask me how I noticed the pattern is when he asked me to give him 20 bob so he can give me, 50. So it's registered. Now she knew that.
So now she's getting it.
So with them, they have a very interesting way of looking at things. Something you just go and figure out very fast. They have to see a pattern in it. They like if you are asking how do I get to town, maybe you do start going through the GPS, the long route. But with them, they probably they've seen the direct route. But why don't I just go there?
Yeah, why don't they just
you are being asked where is the X? Do you still want the formula of X?
They have seen the X. My friend X is here. They even circle it.
I don't know. It's just here. So even in schools, you'll notice how they do things, and then when we call them, they'll give us instructions. But this child with this, because not the same intervention works for everyone. So that's where she'll tell you this one will need this. There'll be things to do in school, and then the parents will also get their own instructions on what to do to help the child.
Okay, now Priscilla.
Yes.
This is the thing, because you deal with these children, you perform assessment.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you are able to tell the correct diagnosis. You are ready to tell the correct treatment for this child. Can an LD, can a learning disorder or a learning disability be treated, or can it only be managed? Do we treat it, or do we just manage it?
Now, specific learning disorders, and I keep using
the word specific learning disorder.
And she's even mentioned something that even within dyslexia, there are different types
of dyslexia.
Yes, so that's why assessment is very important. So you've asked if there is treatment. There is no, let me say there is no cure.
For a learning disorder.
There's no cure for learning disorders.
So once you have it, just manage
is something you have to have for the rest of your life. But it can be managed. She talks about early intervention. The earlier you intervene, the better a life this person is going to have. So the earlier the intervention, the better for this people. But you see the problem, like she's saying, she's so frustrated. The system does not support the people with learning disorders. So even by the time we are realizing a child has learning disorder, it is late. The child has already missed out.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
If you're going to talk about the system and you're going to talk about early intervention.
Yes.
If I talk about myself, I learned of learning disorder from her. I was of age already. I was married. I had my children. They were grown. How do you blame a parent who does not know that something like this exists? Most of the time, because of the kind of the economy that we have right now, it's so heated. People are running up and down looking for money. You don't have time to spend with your child. So by the time you realize that this child has a special condition, it might be too late. Now you're talking about early intervention. How do you intervene in something you don't know exists? Now even the system right now, the government, I don't know if we are actually being sensitized about LD. Are you as a teacher, are you people making it easier for the parents to know that there's something called learning disorder? Are we sensitized? Do we even have the knowledge?
Actually, we are not blaming the parents for what. Initially, we don't blame the parents. And we are focusing on the system, even the schools. But I would speak for my school, my employer. They do that. They call for parents, they come, they call the psychologists to come and explain what is happening. So they are aware of that.
Okay.
But now there are parents who answer ask them, we've noticed. Because it is actually the teachers who notices this first.
Oh, okay.
It's not the parents who notice.
It's not the parent can't. So we send our kids to school, and it's you to come and tell us.
Because teachers spend most of the time, the highest percentage of the
kids' time in
spend
school.
the teacher in school. So the teacher should be able to notice things. And after going through all the procedures necessary, they will call for a meeting with the parents. And then even me, I didn't know my daughter had any learning disability until I was called by the school. And they explained. So how the parent receives that information is also another thing. Some will be in total denial. They say, no way, like I'm an engineer. The engineer doesn't know that he has a learning difficulty himself.
Okay.
Which is sometimes because they can excel in one thing and excel really, really well.
Absolutely.
While ignoring the others, which one you find someone is a good engineer, but when it comes to now articulating things, the words, the language, the reading of such stuff, they deal with figures, the structures, and all that. So they will be in denial, saying, "No way, my child can't have this," and they'll be shifting blames. There's a whole lot of process like when you're grieving. So it can also take some time because we also can't officially intervene without the parents' consent.
So if you're talking about, there's also a whole process of intervening, and you're talking about the environment.
Yeah.
We left something out when we were discussing the causes of learning disorders or learning disability. I'm getting used to that word, learning disability. If it's not caused by genetical engineering of somebody, can it be caused by any other thing other than genetics? Now hold that thought. We'll come back there right after the break.
Longreach Super Be Clean Sanitary Napkin is uniquely designed to give extra comfort, better protection, convenience, and better confidence for women. Did you know that according to the World Health Organization, as high as 83.6% of married women are afflicted with gynecological disease, and 62% of these diseases are caused by use of pure quality sanitary napkins. The 8 benefits of Longreach Super Be Clean Sanitary Napkin are perseverance of health, provides antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, eliminates odor, promotes metabolism, improves endocrine functions, enhances immunity, and relieves stress. Longreach Super Be Clean Sanitary Napkin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Before we went for our break, we were talking about causes of learning disorders, anything other than genetic. So, because I believe there's a way that environment can also affect children with learning disabilities. So, Priscilla, take us through this.
Thank you very much. We had mentioned earlier that the learning disorders can be passed on from a parent to a child. So you find a family, maybe the mother had a learning disorder, or the father, then you're likely to see these learning disorders in their children. And then there are also other, and I mentioned earlier that the specific causes are not exactly known by the researchers. So, but these are just patterns that they've seen. So other than the genetics or the hereditability of these learning disorders, there's what you call risk factors. There are other things that may predispose children to develop the learning disorders. And here we are looking at what you call neurobiological factors. Anything that can affect the child as the brain is developing. So we are talking about prenatal and perinatal, things that happen to the child when they're in the womb, and things that may happen to the child even after birth, from the time maybe they're 0 to 2 years.
During birth.
Or during birth.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Exactly. Because we also have a lot of accidents during birth. During birth.
Prolonged labor, lack of oxygen in the brain.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So all these things can contribute. So, and then the other things that come now from the external environment that mothers may need to watch out for. For example, what you are ingesting as a mother, what environment, what are you exposing your child to? Things like, are you smoking? while you're expecting? Are you drinking alcohol
Mhm.
when you're drinking? These are things that may put your child at risk of developing a learning disability or a learning disorder. There also may be things in the environment that we may not have control over. For example, if you're living in a polluted environment, for example, lead has been found to be associated with the development of learning disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're in an environment where you're exposed to lead in any form, it could be in the water, it could be in the sewerage system, it could be in the air, that can, might affect the child. And then the other things like even the diet of the mother.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Very important.
very important, even the diet of the mother. So if the mother has not been put through a good nutrition during the development of the baby, even though the body really tries to compensate so that the child does not suffer. But there are extreme cases where if there's poor nutrition, the baby lacks certain nutrients that they need for their brain development, might expose the baby to a risk of developing a learning disorder. Even things like the mental health of the mother. For example, stress. If you have if you're stressed throughout your pregnancy, if you're going through a depression in your pregnancy, if you have anxiety, a lot of the mental disorders may affect the development of your child. Yeah, and this may expose the child to develop. We're not saying that specifically if you're stressed, so you have a.
That's what you're saying.
May.
Yeah.
Those are just factors that might contribute to.
So they are just risk factors. Then another thing that I think she mentioned was during, maybe for example, once the baby has been born, there's what you call the brain injury, trauma. You call them acquired. Yes.
They're acquired.
Yes.
The child was just born normal, maybe, or even up to 4th grade or whichever grade.
So if a child is involved in some form of accident that affects the brain, the child may develop a learning disability. Yes, and this may even happen to adults. Yes.
Okay.
Where you lose
some motor skills, you lose processing of information.
Yeah, like I know somebody who went through seizures as an adult. And he was sharing with us how he lost so much information. He forgot so many things. He forgot even his passwords. So he had to relearn as he was now healing. So it can affect. He couldn't concentrate in reading. He couldn't even read properly. So things can still happen even as we are growing up, even as adults. Yeah. So in a nutshell, those are some of the things that have been found to be associated with whether somebody gets a learning disability or not.
What should a parent avoid when handling a child with a learning disorder, or what should a teacher avoid when handling a child with learning disorder? And then Priscilla is also going to go into what should a parent do or a teacher do when handling a child with learning disorder. And then you're going to tell us the first step. I know you said it in the beginning, but I just want you to elaborate. The first step, here you are, you have a child with a learning disorder, you've noticed something is wrong, you've already gone to the teacher, you've sat down with the teacher and you've analyzed the situation. Now the child, what is the next step from there? How do you handle that? So Millie, tell us the don't.
So as a parent, you have several kids. Don't compare them.
Don't compare your kids.
Don't compare them ability-wise, whichever way, because they are all unique. They all have different abilities. School, the teachers should not compare the same. Like now see this, so and so has answered that. Why can't you understand? So and so has understood, or even the grading where this one is number 1, this is number 2. It demoralizes them. So don't compare. Their self-esteem is bad enough as it is. And don't judge. As a teacher, don't judge the parent, because you may think you are having it hard with their children or with their child at school. There's nothing this parent is not doing. They are blaming themselves. They're going through a lot. So don't judge them, because at some point they will call you parent sumbua when you keep on going up.
So that's what you call us.
No, that's what I was told. That's what I was
So
told.
we are parents
Sumbua. Yeah, because
Okay.
I wanted that. I demanded.
And you
for-
did
yes.
not understand. So
No, I demanded for my child's rights.
Oh.
She deserves this. Why aren't you giving
okay,
it to her?
okay.
So you become a parent
Sumbua.
So there's that. Don't over criticize. Don't overcorrect. So, because especially when they are maybe struggling to read, and then you keep on, no, it's this way, this. Let them make the mistake. Don't overcorrect.
How do you know you are overcorrecting and you're just correcting?
You
How do you know now this is
You
correcting?
know how to overdo something. Like,
If a child writes his name, let's say it's written John, and then you omit H, and you say no, you must put you must add H in between O and N, and then he does the same thing again and again, and you keep correcting. When do you when do you learn to stop? Where do you stop?
How you can correct without overdoing it. Like, so let's say you have a process. Today the child was writing John.
Without a
And
H.
then he forgets the
H.
No, he forgets H and J, and then he's made some progress. He has some letters right. You let it go for that time because it's like something.
Who has that time?
Patience.
Who has that time?
Next time.
Can't you just get it
next
today
time.
and then we move to another thing tomorrow? Who has
Because most
that
of
time?
them are also visual learners. So you figure out. So you give them the same John, the John you want the child to write the John. They'll observe, they'll look. They'll do it, make their mistakes maybe over, but they focus on the little progress they've made.
Okay.
Don't look at what they are
What
missing,
they are not doing.
What they are not doing. Just focus on it. So don't focus on their mistakes. Focus on the progress they are making.
Okay.
So when you don't over criticize, even you as a person, an adult.
When I'm over criticized,
yes, when you
I
cook
catch
that,
feelings.
when you cook that food and
somebody wants to talk about it, they should have gone to the kitchen. Where were they when I was cooking?
They only notice what is not there, what is not accompanying that food.
And the salt that is too much.
Yes, exactly. But not the effort you put in
Not
making
the
that
chicken
food.
that is sweet.
So
the
you
salt
get
that is too
disheartened, you
much.
stop trying. You see, when you are over criticized, you stop trying.
Yeah.
We don't
You
want
get
them to stop
discouraged.
trying. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with the do's.
I think if you take her don'ts, then you look for the do's
The
in
do's,
them.
yes.
It covers quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and I always say teachers have a special place.
In heaven,
They are
you have a corner.
But I would say not all teachers.
not all teachers
Because
though.
there are some teachers, to be honest, you look how they handle the kids and then you wonder why.
What if you blame it on the system? They were not taken through these things.
Not even take. There are teachers who were born to teach.
Oh, it's a calling.
Yeah, they were born to teach, and then they were TSC hiring people, which is the same with nursing. So we yes, and doctor, being a doctor. So most teachers are doing
A great
exceptional
job.
Yeah.
Some may not have the right tools to do it.
And some are here to make money.
Yes.
Some are there
So
to
it's
make
not according to them.
Yeah, especially the kindergarten teachers where learning
Begins.
the formation, so the
structured
formative
learning,
years.
it begins. These are very special people. I see how my kindergarten teachers have handled my children, and I'm like, wow. So even when you're talking about the correcting, they have like a different level of patience.
Yeah.
And they're trained on how to do it. And especially now for someone like how who's working with special children, they have an additional training. Okay, they have an additional training, so it comes easy, and of course the passion is also there. Now when we go, so as I was saying, the don'ts that she has talked about, you look at the do's, like being patient, taking time with the children, understanding, not criticizing, not judging. Okay, so but the other things that I think we've also mentioned earlier. The first, you asked earlier, the teacher has told you that your child could be having an issue. Next step, would be maybe to seek professional help. And as I mentioned, you can go to maybe a clinical psychologist. You can go to a mental health department. Most of our referral hospitals have mental health departments that have either a child psychologist or a psychiatrist, so that you can get proper assessment, so that you can know as a parent what exactly is your child struggling with. Is it dyscalculia? Is it dyscalculia and dyslexia, or both, or all of them? Because that way, then you can know the next step.
Even dyspraxia.
Yeah, even dyspraxia. Yeah. Then once you do that, and it's very important to get professional assessment. I can't emphasize that enough.
Before you label a child.
Before you label a child, before you start, even as a parent, I know we throw words around. This child of mine is.
Well, you know, I gave up on you.
Yeah, you know, even teachers, we should lift this level of awareness to the teachers, so that they are more aware.
Yes.
Of that there are children struggling with their learning disabilities. Let's go easy on them. How can we help them?
Yeah.
What can we do?
What can we do?
Yeah. So awareness, diagnosis, psychoeducation on what the learning disorders are. Then she talked about early intervention. Take the next step. What can we do? Is there a school that has a special unit, or that has learning support? And I like what she said earlier. She became parent Sumbua.
Yeah.
Because she wanted
a parent
to
Sumbua. Exactly. Fight for your child as a parent. Fight for your child, so that the child gets all the support that they can have. Then of course, once you go through assessment, you'll be able to be guided on whether your child needs a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, to help them with the motor skills and all that. And you can only know this if you take your child through assessment. So even for the parent who is in Ushago, they can still make time and bring their child to Kenyatta. Kenyatta has a beautiful mental health department that deals very well with children in terms of assessment. They even have occupational therapists, and it should not, with the NHIF now, it should not cost. So having no money should, I think they cover all this, like even the assessments and all that. So having money should not be a reason to let your child go through this life suffering. So you should do everything. For example, if your child had another illness or malaria, wouldn't you sell even your goods to take them to the hospital?
Yes, because an illness is an illness.
Yeah. So that is what, for me, I would really that is what I would encourage parents to do and the teachers to do. And anybody who has the information, like now what we are doing here, get out there and give out the information, create awareness, tell people that these things are there, and there are things that we just need to support these people who are struggling with them, so that they can also live to their full potential.
Nice. You want to add anything? Yeah, just give us your last word.
What I can say is that teachers often teach the way they learn. If you are an auditory learner, you'll find yourself teaching without visual, without aids and all that. You'll be now an auditory teacher. You'll be delivering your instructions that way. But you forget that in a classroom, even the ones who are not in the learning support or are not having learning disabilities have different learning approaches, methods.
That brings us to the end of our discussion today. Ladies, thank you so much for making time to come and share your thoughts about this issue. And I hope that whatever we've learned today, I hope that whatever we've discussed here will go a long way to create awareness in our societies concerning learning disorders. Well, that does not bring us to the end of this program. Coming up next is our session of What Does the Bible Say? Stay tuned.
I just want to encourage especially parents to understand that their children could be struggling with learning disabilities, and this is something that is happening to a lot of children, so they should not feel stigmatized. They should not stigmatize their children, and they should not label their children. And one important thing that they can do for their children is to ensure that they take their children for professional assessment. And this you can get, you can look for a psychologist, or you can take your child to the nearest referral hospital, because they mostly have have mental health departments that can support, that can offer the assessment that your child needs. Or you can visit a clinical psychologist if you know one, such as myself, to offer the necessary assessment so that you can be advised on what you need to do with your child to support them to achieve their full potential.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last segment of the day. This is a segment where we try to connect what the Bible says to our topic of the day. Our topic of the day was about learning disorder, and we realized that Colossians 3:21 tells us that parents do not provoke your children, for if you do so, you might discourage them. So it's my prayer that you parents will treat your children in a way that they will not be discouraged in any way. Otherwise, we say goodbye today. We'll see you next time. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram page. Ciao.